What's going on everyone, T-Hugs here, and welcome to the PUBG Xbox Final Circle Guide. This video has been highly requested by many of you, so I'll be going in depth to cover everything you need to know when surviving Final Circles. You should also note that there will be a part 2 to this video coming out shortly after, which covers strategies and tactics you can use to better your chances of winning the final 1v1 situations. I will also have timestamps in the description if you ever want to go back or skip to a certain part. Now in this video I will be going over a variety of play styles, so everyone should be able to leave with some tips to improve their gameplay. Alright, now let's get started. When the circle gets smaller, you tend to see 3 different types of players. Usually in the center, you'll start to find the building campers. Now this strategy is very favorable to players that enjoy playing passive, and you really can't get mad at an enemy for trying to survive in a game where surviving is the dominant tactic. I tested out this strategy in one game and got the chicken dinner. I looted a random complex, and once every circle showed itself, I simply got a vehicle and placed myself in the most central building. Once the circle pushed me out of the building, there was 2 other players that I had to deal with. It was probably one of the most uneventful chicken dinners I've ever had, but it got the job done. And I was able to watch half an episode of South Park while playing that game, so it turned out to be pretty enjoyable. If you ever set up shop in a building, in a final circle, silence is your best friend, and it will really catch the enemy off guard when he opens a door and doesn't hear a sound. To move around with really quiet footsteps, all you have to do is quickly tap your stick up and your player will move slow but very quietly. If you want to have some fun with this strategy, you can bait players with meds and other items. I can already see some of you now in the comments saying, why are you teaching these people how to camp? Listen, it's a game where any strategy works, and if you hate these players, I'll be sharing some tactics you can use to take them out later in the video. If gunfights aren't your strong suit, and you like playing a more chilled game with an intense ending, then you should try this strategy to get further into the circles and closer to that chicken dinner. The next type of player you see in the final circles are the edge huggers. If you like to play this way or are ever in this situation, here are some strategies you can use to survive further into a game. Hugging the edge zone does have its advantages since you can filter out multiple areas where enemies won't be. Unlike building campers where an enemy can approach you from all angles, zone runners in the 4th circle and below will usually never be threatened from players running into zone since it starts dealing a lot of damage. This allows you to focus more on the players in front of you and towards the center zone rather than having to focus and protect yourself from all angles. When I find myself out around the edge of zone, I will usually never run straight towards the zone unless I am forced to. I will start running a bit sooner and ride the outer edge to the next zone. By doing this, I am safe from my right since zone is there, and most likely I won't get shot from my backside since I just ran from that direction. Usually you can gather a good amount of kills from doing this, and you can create a great position in the final circle since you just carved a path into it. The downside to this strategy is running from the blue and getting caught out in the open. This is where a lot of the blue runners get picked off from the people that are already safe inside of a building. So my suggestion to you if you're in this situation is to not run right next to the zone, but instead run from the closest cover to cover that wraps the outside of the zone. Also, stacking up on smoke grenades will really help you out in this situation if you ever need that on-the-go cover. There's been a number of times where I was able to count on a smoke grenade for a safe place to heal or just use as running cover. Now on to tips for the more kill-hungry players. For players that are looking to improve your gunfight skills by getting into more battles, or for those that are trying to beat their kill record, here are some tips for you in the final circles. Playing aggressive comes with some major pros and cons. For one, you get more loot since you kill more players. Playing aggressive also has more unpredictable scenarios that you have to deal with. This is usually what gets me killed. Not accounting for another player sitting in a building or a vulture picking me off when I just got done a gunfight tend to be a couple of the reasons I die before reaching the top 10. When I play this way, on the larger maps, usually I will always have a vehicle. This is different for Sanhok since the map's so small and you can really just run around to any gunfight you hear. So for that map, I tend to stay away from vehicles and just stick to my feet. When I use vehicles to be aggressive, I can always push players and dip away from a situation as fast as I came. Using a vehicle to push players usually won't give them much time to think, and it gives me the upper hand. Driving around will make those housekeepers peek their windows, shoot, and give away their position. Once you see the house somebody is shooting you from, take a drive over and unleash your throwables. In these situations, throwables are the housekeeper's worst nightmare. 10 times out of 10, I would rather be the person throwing the stuns, mollies, or grenades than the person receiving them. The stun grenade can take a person's vision, which is great, but it will also take someone's hearing away from them. This is an awesome time to push a building since they can't rely on their hearing to know where to pre-aim. Molotovs help by clearing a portion of a building or forcing a player to a certain exit. And yes, grenades. Aside from their sheer power, they can also provide a sound barrier for you to push, just like the flashbangs. Now let's take a look at these same situations and not use any throwables. What is there to do? Usually when I push a building without throwables, I will open a door and not run inside, but rather circle the building and enter somewhere else. Opening a door will tend to make them pre-fire and give away their position, or move around so you can locate them with sound. With that information, I will decide whether I should push or back off. I will also take into account circle position when pushing people in houses. If somebody's in a house outside of zone, then they have to leave that house and go into zone. So it would be in my best interest to cut them off while they're running into zone without any cover. Another key factor players use to survive longer into the final circle is using their sound to their advantage. Locating enemies with sound and pinpointing them is a great way to flank your opponents. Once you get used to all the sounds in the game, you can tell what weapon the enemy was using and if that player won his gunfight by checking the top right corner of the kill feed. If that gun you heard pops up, then most likely that player won. These situations really are one of the best times you can kill your opponent. When the other player is solely focused on killing somebody else, then you can come by and get a freebie. I have some people in the comments asking me how I am able to hear and pinpoint enemies so easily. I've used anywhere from a $20 mic to a $200 mic, but I recently just switched to the Astro A40s. If you want to check out the Astro headset I use, I'll post a link in the description. I just recently upgraded to this headset with my new streaming setup, but prior to this my main headset was the Turtle Beach XO1s. I used the XO1s for about 4 years and they caused me no problems. They have great sound quality and come at a good price compared to the Astros. Still on the topic of flanking, movement is a huge part in the majority of final circle situations. If you ever find yourself shooting and not moving, most likely somebody will come up from behind and pick you off. When I shoot or kill somebody in the final circles, I never go to loot right away. Looting right away is a really bad idea since you don't know what players already have their sights aimed down on you. In final circles, you will rarely see me ever looting unless it's for stuff I really need. Right when I kill a player, my main focus is to change positions and scout out the area so I don't get flanked by another player that wants to take me out. When you change positions right when you killed somebody, this throws off the player that's trying to flank you. And most likely you might see him before he sees you and you'll get the first shots off. So running around, changing positions, and covering all your angles is the best way to spot players before they spot you. And if you get your shots off first, most likely you'll be winning that gunfight. Also, late game snaking can be a viable strategy in some situations, but don't make this a go-to strategy. If you're up on your feet, getting into gunfights where you can actually aim at a quick pace, you'll have a better chance of fighting back if somebody spots you. If somebody spots you when you're prone on the ground, they get a few easy shots at you to take you out before you're up on your feet. And 9 times out of 10 in that situation, it's not going to end well for you. Now finally, the last thing I want to cover in final circle situations is the flight or fight response that kicks in. When I'm in a final circle with my teammates, they tend to lose focus and forget what's important. Your heart starts racing and your thoughts just flash by you. This leads to terrible decisions and chokes for the chicken dinner. As an example, in this situation, I potato some of my first shots, but I'm able to hit the shots with the Kar 98. Right when I hit the Kar 98 shots, I should have pushed into zone while he was healing. Instead, I really wasn't thinking, missed my grenades, and he outpositioned me to the blue. If you're really struggling making good decisions in the final circle, then I suggest stopping and taking a few deep breaths. Once you take a few seconds to relax a bit, pick what you think is your best possible option. From here, I want you to commit to your option and go all in with it with no hesitation. If it ends up failing, then think back what you did wrong and don't do it again. If it ends up going well, then repeat the process and add tweaks to it to better your gameplay. If there's one thing you should take from final circle situations, it's to respect the blue. It will put you into situations you don't want to be in, and it has no mercy. If you stay on its side, you will go further into games and closer to the chicken dinners. Well everyone, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you found the walkthrough helpful, and don't forget to drop a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. The final 1v1 tips video will be out soon, so make sure to watch out for that. I'll be putting it under the recommended video tab once it's out, so you can click on it from there. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.